Okay, guys, so do y'all remember where we left off last time in the book?
Yes.
Okay, so talk to each other about what y'all remember on where we left off in the book last time.
We left off where they found out that they think that it was the people in their class, that the guy who was taking the book to the library, and it was about horses, and the kid's horse is missing, and so they think it was the Randall. Was Randall? And
Randall's horse?
oh no, it was Randall's horse that was missing, and his name is Thunder. And they went, and his mom owned a flower shop, so they were going to the flower shop.
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember? Is that what you remember?
Yep. But I need to add the names. The suspects were Joey Myers and Billy. And Joey's mom owned a flower shop, so they're going to Joey's mom's flower shop.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's what I remember too. Last time they said that they were going to go to the flower shop and see what they could find. So let's see what happens. Chapter 7. Keep your plants on. 5 minutes later, my mom dropped us at the library. We rushed in to take out books about horses, but Mrs. Bookman said most of them were already checked out. By guess who? Said Kelly, staring straight across the street at Petals and Buds. Who do y'all think checked out the books?
The guys that stole the whole.
Joey Myers and Billy.
All right, let's see. Joey's not going to tell us much, I said when we gathered on the sidewalk. He thinks we're goofballs, and he's probably still hungry because we didn't let him finish that carrot stick 3 years ago, Brian said. That would make anybody mad. There's only one way to find out what we need to find out, Kelly said. Our specialty. Mara winked through her glasses. Disguises! Carefully, the four of us snuck into the alley behind the shop. We found a big garbage can overflowing with leafy branches and broken blossoms. It smells good for garbage, Mara said. Just like Thunder's stable, Brian said. Joey is so guilty, said Kelly. Come on. Kelly and Mara began stuffing leaves and flowers into their belts and socks and sleeves. Why do you think they're stuffing flowers into their belts and socks?
That's stick.
Talk to each other.
To make a disguise, like they said. We need a disguise to get in.
For nobody to notice them.
Yeah. So
Good thinking. All right. Brian and I joined them. A minute later, there were 4 goofball plants in the alley. I want to be a hedge when I grow up, Brian said with a chuckle. We'll have to stick close, said Mara. Just keep your tulips closed and let's go inside, Kelly said. Okay, but don't leave me here, I said. On my signal, all 4 goofball plants shuffled into the back of the shop as quietly as we could. We saw Joey and Billy watering plants with a garden hose. Brian nudged my branch. Joey's mom has a customer. Let's listen. At the counter, there was a woman holding a bunch of thin green stems without flowers. I recognized her as our neighbor, Mrs. Wilson. I ordered 3 dozen red tulips to be delivered this morning, Mrs. Wilson said, but instead, look what I got. Joey's mother studied the stems without flowers. I can't explain it. I'm very sorry. Then she turned to Joey and Billy. When you boys dropped off the flowers from the truck this morning, were they like this? No, said Joey. They were nice. Really nice, said Billy. All flowery. Mrs. Myers shook her head. Well, did you notice anything strange? Joey looked at Billy. Billy looked at Joey. He left the truck door open, they both said, pointing at each other. What do you mean? Asked Mrs. Myers. Joey grumbled. When we stopped at Mrs. Wilson's house, the back of the truck was open, Billy said, because somebody forgot to close it at the rich kid's house. Randall Crandall's house, I thought. Uh-huh. Joey forgot, Billy said. Billy forgot, Joey said. It was raining so hard, Billy said. We just jumped right back in the truck to stay dry. It was sunny by the time we got to Mrs. Wilson's house, Joey said. That's when we noticed the truck door was still open. Mrs. Myers turned back to Mrs. Wilson and sighed. I'm terribly sorry for the flowers that got destroyed. We'll replace them, of course. Thank you, said Mrs. Wilson. As for you boys, Joey's mother said, please continue watering while Mrs. Wilson and I choose new flowers. Those 4 big plants in the back seem very dry. 4 big plants? What for? Uh-oh. Mrs. Myers was pointing right at us. Joey was pointing right at us too, with the garden hose. Sploosh! Water splurted out like a tidal wave. We got soaked from stem to blossoms. I didn't have a butler to do my sneezing, so I had to do my own. I started. That plant, said Joey, backing far from my shaking branches. It's... Choo! I exploded. It was the loudest sneeze in the history of sneezes. Wah! Joey flew back right into Billy. The hose went wild and sprayed Billy from head to foot. The last thing I saw as we raced out the back door was Billy swatting Joey with Mrs. Wilson's chewed up flower stalks. So they thought the plants were alive is what I'm thinking. So they got scared and ran away. You all agree? All right, chapter 8, the totally incredible solution. Sounds like we're getting close to the end. We charged down the alley, zigzagged behind the shops, dashed up the hill, and didn't stop until we got to my backyard. We plopped down on a big flat rock to dry. That was close, said Kelly. I'm so wet. That was closer than close, Mara said. I'm completely soaked. That was the closest, said Brian. Even my insides are dripping. Too bad we're not as close to finding thunder. As I squeezed the water out of my wet socks, I read my clue book from beginning to end. 2 clues seemed especially important. Thunderstorm this morning. Thunder afraid of thunder. Ooh, what do y'all think that means? Talk to each other.
Thunder, the horse is afraid of thunder. Because he said he doesn't like rain or thunder. Randall said that.
Mm-hmm. So maybe Thunder ran away from the flower shop somewhere far. Something.
Maybe he's trying to go home, but he doesn't know where it is.
Yeah.
Good thinking, guys. Let's see. Looking up the hill, I saw Mrs. Wilson's house. Looking down the hill, I saw the library garden. In between, I saw my mom's garden, and I suddenly noticed that some of the flowers were eaten, just like at Mrs. Wilson's house. My heart began to pound. Maybe we are close after all, I said. Really close. Do you know where thunder is? Brian asked. I jumped to my feet. Yes, I figured it out. Kelly gasped. Tell us everything. No, that would take too long, said Mara. Just tell us what you figured out. I stood up on the flat rock like a teacher in front of a class. We know that thunder likes flowers and was last seen this morning. We also know that the flower truck made a delivery this morning. We also know that the storm was this morning. Boy, we know lots of stuff, Brian said. We must be smart. Then answer this, I said. What do we get when we put thunder, the storm, and the flower truck together? One of Brian's wacko inventions, said Mara. Kelly's hands shut up. Me. Kelly, I chose her like a teacher would. She stood up just like in class. Well, what if Thunder went into the truck because he saw flowers but was too scared to leave because of the storm? If Joey and Billy didn't close the truck door, they never would have seen him in there. Correct, I said with a smile. Now me, said Mara, jumping up next to Kelly. Randall said Thunder was scared even with the flowers in his trailer. What if he was too scared to eat the flowers, but by the time the truck got to Mrs. Wilson's, the storm was over? So he ran out? And when the truck left, Brian said, jumping up next, Thunder ate Mrs. Wilson's tulips. Wow, said Kelly. We really are smart. So what do y'all think about their conclusion that they think they've made?
I was already saying that.
That's what you were going to say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's see if they're right after all. Still gotta find Thunder. I grinned. Now, Brian, what was that question you asked before? What are you talking about? Not that question, I said. Is this still the United States? Not that question, I said. I see footsteps! That's not even a question, I said. Do you know where Thunder is? That's the question, I said. And the answer is right there. I pointed down the hill. Brian pushed his hands into his bulging pockets and took out a tiny mirror, 4 bottle tops, 3 finger puppets, and the last page of a dictionary. Fiddling for a moment, he suddenly held what looked like a telescope. He jumped. I see Thunder! He's trotting right towards the library garden! He must have seen it from Mrs. Wilson's house and made his way down the hill right to it. He's on his way there right now! We ran inside my house and called Randall to meet us at the library. Then we raced down the hill to town, Sparky barking the whole way. Goof! Goof! Did you find Thunder? Randall asked when he jumped out of his big white limousine in front of the library. Where is he? Where's my Thunder? Follow us, I said with a sly smile. But when we arrived at the library garden, Thunder was nowhere in sight. So we waited. And we waited. And we waited some more. No Thunder. Oh no, said Mara. We didn't solve the case after all. Suddenly, a shout echoed from across the street. The goofballs are completely ruined! Boy, word spreads fast, said Kelly, as everyone came running, even Joey and Billy. Then we saw Luigi, the pizza maker, running across the street, waving his hands in the air. The goofball pizzas are ruined, he cried. Ooh, the goofball pizza. So what do you think is happening? Talk to each other.
Oh, because they said the goofballs are ruined? When they said, when she was talking, the case was, they didn't figure out the case after all, and now the goofballs are taken apart, and now he thinks that the goofball, after the pizza they named, it's torn apart, or that Horsey ate it.
Yeah, I think Thunder ate the pizza. That's why they said, oh no, the goofballs are ruined.
So y'all think Thunder is in the pizza shop?
No.
Yeah.
No? Yes and a no. Let's see. The doors of the pizza palace suddenly burst open, and out galloped a small brown pony. His nose was covered with globs of peanut butter and pineapple rings. Uh-oh, Thunder was in the pizza shop.
Ooh.
That's a good disguise, said Mara. That's Thunder, yelled Randall Crandall. He's heading for my flower shop, shouted Mrs. Myers. Help! I turned to Randall. Any ideas? Randall glanced at the library garden, and his face lit up. A goofy idea, Mrs. Bookman, may I? Be my guest, she said. Randall snipped some flowers, he stuffed them into his pockets, he stuck them behind his ears, he dangled them from his bow tie, he slipped them from his hair. Soon, he was a wiggly, wobbly, walking flower bouquet. I think that he's trying to get Thunder to come to him since he likes flowers.
Yeah.
Do y'all agree?
Yeah.
Thunder, he called. Yoo-hoo! Thunder! The pony turned. His big brown eyes blinked. His furry ears twitched. He trotted right over and tugged a flower from behind Randall's ear. He chewed it all up. Oh, Thunder, cried Randall. I'm so glad the goofballs found you. Almost, Mara said. Sort of, said Brian. Not really, Kelly said. We were clueless, I said. Randall laughed. That's a goofy thing to say. I tried to tell you before. Thunder really likes flowers, but he loves pizza, especially pizza with pineapples and peanut butter. If you hadn't solved the pizza disaster, there would be no goofball pizza. With no goofball pizza, Thunder might still be lost. We did solve the case, said Mara. Kelly grinned. The case of the missing Thunder, she said. The crazy case, to be exact, said Brian. Jeff, write that in your clue book. Goofballs forever! Everyone cheered. Then Randall pulled a flower out of his hair and began to munch it, using a napkin and 2 toothpicks from his pocket. Brian ate a flower too. Then Mara, Kelly, and I chomped some tulips. Even Mrs. Bookman, Mrs. Myers, Luigi the pizza maker, Sparky, and Joey, and Billy munched flowers, proving what I always say, everybody wants to be a goofball.
No one see flowers.
The end. Great job. So, how did y'all like the story?
Awesome.
Great.
Great. All right.